Good morning, Chair. We're now live.
Thank you. Welcome to everyone this morning to the meeting of the Lincolnshire Fire and Rescue Pension Scheme Management Board on the 14th of March 2025. We'll have a short delay of approximately 5 minutes while we wait for other board members to turn up. Otherwise, we may not be quorate.
Hi, Councillor Corey. Can you confirm if you're in attendance?
Yes, apologies. Good morning, everyone. Slight technical issue, but I think it's been resolved now. So thank you for chasing. Yeah, I'm in attendance online now. Thank you.
In which case, we're quorate now, Chair.
Thank you. So we can now begin the meeting proper. So to the agenda, if we start with apologies for absence.
None received. Apologies from Mark Baxter, though, I'm assuming.
Okay, thank you. And no need for introductions at this point. Point 2, declarations of interest. Does anybody have any declarations of interest to raise? No, none. And then the next point to the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 10th of January. So does everybody have a copy of the minutes to review? So page 1 of the minutes begins page 3 of the agenda pack. If everybody could review that. There are no actions. Any points to raise? No. Page 2. Page 3. And at the bottom of page 3, we have a couple of actions: that the risk register be updated and the Council's data accuracy to be reported at a subsequent meeting by the West Yorkshire Pension Fund. So the first one we can confirm has been done, and we'll wait for the report from West Yorkshire Pension Fund on the second action. Page 4. Page 5. And page 6. So if everyone is in agreement, we'll agree those to be an accurate record of the previous meeting. Thank you. So if we could have a proposer and the second. Yep. And everybody agrees? Yep. We're all in agreement.
Agreed.
Then.
Yep. Thank
Agreement
you.
that we accept those as an accurate record of the previous meeting. Thank you. So, to return to the agenda, item 4, performance data from West Yorkshire Pension Fund. So if we can go to, is it Helen to receive an update?
Yeah, thank you. So you've got the monthly client report for February in your pack. So that really, I don't propose to go through the report unless anybody has any questions about any of it. So it's still in the same format as normal. You know, we've got the KPI targets met at part 1, and where we haven't met the target, we do put a note underneath to explain the reasoning. Number 2 is the work that we've got in progress. Number 3 is just your web registrations. That's obviously gone up again, so that's really useful. Number 4, we just confirm all your membership numbers. Really just an information piece, and just so you can do some checks to earlier months if you feel the need. So that covers a few pages, and then number 5 is the administration update. So we've just got an item there on the request for data from for age discrimination remedy, and the fact that we'll supply yourselves with the data and you can then respond to LGA as required. We've added some more information on Matthews and the GAD calculator. We gave you an update on where we were with producing pension savings statements, because that had kind of a final deadline of January 25. So because of the issues that we had in, or currently still have, in getting all pension records updated and in the rollback position to produce the ABS RSS, we had to find cases that we thought would breach and would need a remedy pension savings statement. We had to do kind of a manual trawl and go through the data that we did have. So by the deadline, we had sent the remedy pension savings statements out to everybody where their pension input amount was over 50,000. And so that included those people that would have had a tax charge and needed to use the HMRC remedy tax calculator. There are a number that in the under 50,000 that haven't gone. They are the ones based on the calculations that we did do in that category. Although the need to have the statement, we haven't come across anybody that actually had a tax charge. So we've ended up pausing those, and we'll be looking at those from the data that gets created once the ABS RSS has been produced. So for those, West Yorkshire Pension Fund have looked and decided whether there's going to, obviously there is a breach, but decided whether that breach was material. And it says here that we've decided it was material and we're going to report. I think that decision has changed and West Yorkshire Pension Fund have decided that these are not material, and so we're not reporting, and I think that's probably going to be in the next client report that you get. Obviously, it's for the board to determine if their view on it and whether they feel it should be reported. And I think one of the main reasons we've changed our mind to not material at the moment is we don't really have any idea of the numbers, and we don't have any idea out of those numbers if we do have anybody that does breach and will have tax to pay. So I believe it's something that once we're finally at the end and we've got a true position, we'll re-look at the decision and all the evidence and the decisions, and we'll make a new decision then, and we'll let you know if we are reporting. Has anybody got anything on that?
So, Helen, thank you very much for that. I understand that in the time between the distribution of the agenda pack and the meeting today, the March performance data report has been released, and I've had a quick chance to have a look at that. Would you be willing to discuss detail from that report at all?
I'll go search it out. Yeah, because I don't get a copy.
Okay. Yeah. So we've only had a chance for a very brief look, but there are just a couple of points I'd like to raise, if possible. I don't want to put you under pressure, so if you feel that you're not comfortable to discuss this at this notice, then we can leave it till the next meeting. But
no, that's bringing the report up. Right? Yeah. So if you want to let me know. So, in terms of the KPIs, completed processes, deferred benefits set upon leaving, a relatively large number of cases, 11, of which the target was met in none of them. And in the explanation below, did not meet due to high volumes of work. Now, is this exceptional, and can you elaborate at all on the high volumes of work? It's not exceptional at the moment because of all the work that is needed to be done under age discrimination remedy. Then the resourcing is focused on that, which means that out of all the areas of work that we have to do, deferred benefits are the ones that get stockpiled. And that's because we communicate with the member as soon as we know that they've left, which means that we meet the overriding disclosure regulations, but the member's benefits are not impacted by not doing the calculations and sending them the actual figures immediately. So that is an area that we can put on hold. What's also happened is we've had some new members of staff, and one of the areas that they can start to do is the calculation of deferred benefits, but we don't have the sufficient number of staff at the senior level to do the checking. So the checking doesn't get done as quickly as the doing gets done. And this is going to be the position for some time till we can get back on top. Once we've kind of drawn a line under the age discrimination remedy and we've done everything that we need to do under that, then we'll be back focusing on the kind of normal business as usual areas.
Yeah, thank you for that. So, in summary, the age discrimination work that you have to do has to take priority. So you have to prioritise the work and the available resources you have to allocate to those jobs.
Yes, and obviously we can't not do retirements and try and because obviously that business as usual has to keep going. Transfers in we have to do in the time frames because delaying transfers in could adversely affect how much the member gets in benefits from that transfer. And also like divorce, we can't go outside the time frames for divorce because again, those could have detrimental impacts. So pretty much the only work area we've got where not processing in a timely manner doesn't impact the member's deferred benefits. So that's the one that gets put to one side.
Thank you for that, Helen. And just a slight update, I suppose, on something you mentioned in the previous report on page 12 of the most recent report, the March report. It does clarify actually that while it was a breach, it wasn't a material breach, and the affected clients may take a different view and log and report if they have that view.
Yeah.
So that's just an update on that point. Brilliant. Okay, I think in terms of what we can do with the most recent report, until we read it in more detail, there's no point discussing it anymore. So thank you for that, and thanks for taking those questions on that report, Helen.
No, that's fine. Right, so then, still, we're on page 12 of the report in the pack. There's an item there about managing pension scheme mismatches. So, West Yorkshire Pension Fund, on your behalf, report certain things to HMRC and make relevant payments. Some of the payments we have to make quarterly, the others we make annually in January. And this one, the one that we make annually in January, is something called Event 1. And this is where a member is elected for the maximum lump sum under scheme rules, and that then produces a tax charge that's payable to HMRC. So we've made those payments, we've made the correct payments, but what we've noticed for all our fire clients is when we then go into this managing pension schemes section that HMRC, which is the kind of the new area that HMRC have set up for these, what they're saying is due doesn't agree with what we've actually paid. So we're in communication with HMRC to try and get all this rectified. So hopefully, I mean, I don't know who kind of would be looking at this, but there is an issue. We're aware of the issue. We're on it, and we will get it resolved with HMRC over the relevant time. Obviously, as you probably know, if you're dealing with HMRC, they don't respond very quickly. So I'm not exactly sure, but somebody called Derek Tam in our finance team is leading on this, and he's in contact with HMRC quite regularly. So that will get resolved in due course. So then we've got just some information on communications and training, which I won't go into any detail on. We've a bit of an update on an IT update. I'll do a little bit more on that later, so I won't mention that now. Then you've just got your normal standard audit plans, overriding disclosures, calendar of events, and then at 12 we just basically highlight the key parts out of the LGA bulletins, and where there is an action on WIPF, as well as perhaps the scheme manager or anybody else, we do put a response underneath in red. So if you can see on page 29, the one headed remediable service statements data request, that there's a sentence there in red about from West Yorkshire Pension Fund, and the 2024 valuation, we confirmed that we've provided all the data to GAD that we needed to do. Movements data, it says we're working on that, and I can confirm that the movements data was sent to GAD for all fire authorities by the 19th of February, which was obviously in advance of their end date of the 28th. So you can see on there, that's where we will put a response to the actions that are on us as the administrator. So that's everything on the report. If anybody's got any questions on any other parts of it.
So thanks for your report, Helen. I suppose I don't really know the appropriate point to ask this, but whether you could give a statement on the RSS ABS relative to the deadline and whether that's going to be achieved.
Well, at the moment, I don't know. So you've supplied the financial data extracts. We've uploaded most of that in terms of active members. Then there was a further data stage, which was needing the GAD contribution adjustment data. So what a member who is rolled back into the 1992 scheme would have to pay in additional contributions with the tax relief and the interest, and then the same for somebody kind of going into the 2006, what their refund would be. That data needed to be loaded, and I received that this morning for yourselves, and that has now been loaded. So the kind of main area that we've had problems with is what we refer to as the rollback of the pension records, so that those records show the information needed to do a legacy calculation and to do a 2015 reformed calculation. And we've had, every time we've kind of started that process, we've had errors coming up that we've had to report to Civica. So yesterday we managed, Civica confirmed that the latest error had been fixed. So we've managed to move our test process on. And now we've hit a snag because a process that we're actually dealing with internally is blocking the next stage. So that's in with the team to clear that. So hopefully by the end of today, I will know whether the process works properly at every stage and doesn't create any more errors. So what we've got a meeting on Tuesday to go through where we are with the Civica process. And at that point, we'll be making a decision as to whether we believe we can get some ABS RSS out by the 31st of March 25. And then if we think that we can't, we will be sending a communication to all our FRAs and also producing a letter to go to all members. So at this point, we're close, but we haven't got the process quite to the end yet. But I'm a lot more hopeful today than I was 2 days ago.
Thanks for that update, Helen. I think it's important to reflect that this must be extremely stressful for you and very hard work, and there's a lot of uncertainty that you're dealing with, but it's also of quite significant importance to the members of the various pension schemes. So being able to manage expectations is quite important. So early information to us to allow us to communicate effectively with members and make sure that everybody's fully aware of the picture will be quite important. So yeah, that communication will be appreciated when it comes.
Yeah,
thank you for that. And I believe that's your section of that report done. So, to return to the agenda, the next point 5, is to receive a verbal update from Elizabeth Hipworth on current issues.
Thank you. The first item under this section is the IDRP cases. I'm pleased to say we've had none. Breaches, we've had none. Going on to the Sergeant McLeod age discrimination remedy. As we've mentioned, we've got 473 individuals who are in scope of this remedy, of which 186 of these are also in scope of the Matthews second options exercise. The reason why I mentioned that is before retirement calculations can be done, the member has to have made their Matthews decision known. So at retirement, just to confirm, we've said this before, but it's worth repeating sometimes. So at retirement, people receive 2 sets of figures, one for legacy scheme benefits and the other for reformed scheme benefits. And the individual then has the choice of which one is best for them. And as we've mentioned, we've now got the Matthews scenario as well that builds into that. Obviously, if they're not in scope of Matthews, it makes it a lot quicker, the process. So just to give you an update on how many retirements we've been dealing with. So since the legislation was put into effect on the 1st of October 2023, we've actually completed 14 retirements. 9 of those have chosen legacy scheme benefits, 3 have chosen reform scheme benefits, and 2 members decided not to actually take their benefits. And we currently have 6 further retirements that are ongoing. I'll move now on to the Matthews second options exercise. So in total, we have 712 individuals who are in scope of this exercise. 367 of those 712 have indicated they wish to receive costs of the buyback, and a further 25 individuals have indicated they don't wish to receive the costs of the buyback. Just a point of note, even though they have said they don't want to receive the costs, once we've dealt with everybody else that says they do, they are still going to get a letter to say, I know you said you didn't want to have costs, but here are the costs, do you want to change your mind? It's just when they see it in black and white, they might decide, actually, it is worth doing. We are actually still awaiting responses from 320 individuals, despite several reminders. We are continuing to remind these individuals, but obviously the 31st of March at the moment is the cut-off date. In fact, that leads me nicely on to my next bit. Sorry, I'm catching up with my own notes here. So the deadline for individuals sending in their completed options is the 31st of March 2025. However, the Home Office have been consulting on changes to the legislation. One of these changes is the 12-month extension of the Matthews second options exercise to the 31st of March 2026. But that's in certain circumstances, and I'll as we go through the agenda, I'll talk about that in a bit more when I go through the next update. Consultation has actually closed on the 17th of January. In terms of the costs of the buyback, so just to update you on progress, we are progressing those in accordance with the LGA priority order. Those Group 1, Group 2 and Group 3. We have Group 1 and Group 3. So 166 are in priority Group 1. Of those 166, 120 have been sent out so far. These just can't be done in a bulk calculator. Each one has to be done individually, because actually to get the bottom line cost, you have to get different sources of information to be able to give the breakdown to the member to say how that figure's been arrived at. And so far, every single individual has rung in, even though there's a covering letter, there's explanatory notes, and they've all run in with queries. What we've tried to do is look at common themes and then update the literature, and also I'm fielding phone calls myself so I can give updates on those kinds of things. But I think it's fair to say a lot of people are just not reading the information. They go into panic mode and they just ring the phone number. The unintended consequence is that because this is so complicated, we've got one person dealing with this in the majority, with 2 people behind the scenes pulling a lot of the information together. But it means that these phone calls typically are up to 30 minutes with that member, and of course it then stops progress. So this is just the reality of the situation. But it's not as if, because it is so complicated, you just can't throw resources at it. It's just not possible. Right, where we got to? So we said of the 166 in priority group 1, 120 have been sent out so far. There's about a further just 200 in the next group when they have been done. Obviously, once we've done our bit, which is we get the notification, we send the retirement notification through to West Yorkshire. West Yorkshire provide the retirement costs, they come back to us, we add additional information, it goes back to the member. We also talk about abatement, because that could potentially affect their pension if they go for legacy scheme benefits, because it does not affect 2015 benefits. That when we get the paperwork back, we send it back to West Yorkshire. But of course, West Yorkshire, not just dealing with Lincolnshire Fire and Rescue, they've got all their other clients, which I think, Helen, is it about 23 or 24 clients?
24.
24,
Yeah.
thank you. And of course, what they've said is they've got their own priority in terms of the processing, so they will process the active members who will be retiring soon, and also special deferreds who are over 60, because obviously this pension can be paid from age 60, the modified pension scheme they're buying into. Have you got any questions on that before I move on to pension dashboards?
Yeah, thanks, Liz. Just a couple of questions. So one, how would you characterise the capacity of your team to deal with these calculations? Is it still difficult but manageable?
Yes, now we've got the extension, because the Home Office, through all the different... Because this has been a bit like shifting sands. There's lots of things coming out of the woodwork at different points during the... when the legislation was put in place, both prior to that and after. Obviously, there's different stakeholders involved. The LGA are trying to do as much as possible, West Yorkshire, ourselves. The Home Office have been listening to that feedback, and this is why one of the reasons for the extension of the deadline. So in that respect, yes, it is manageable.
Okay, thank you. And quite interested with regard to these telephone calls you receive for advice.
Yes.
I think I'm right, and we've discussed it before, that it's important that members understand the importance of taking independent qualified pensions advice to understand their situation and their specifics. Would you agree that's relevant advice that we should be promoting as much as possible?
Obviously, members can take up their own financial advice. In some ways, they get the two sets of figures, and actually when you look at the breakdown, in some ways you can actually see which one is the better immediately from the different, your pension that you'd get. So in that respect, not everybody would need to take financial advice. They'd look at the information. I think we've given sufficient that they have got enough information there, but of course if people want to take additional financial advice, that is up to them.
No, that's great, thank you. You can continue with your report.
Thank you. The last two items I've got, pension dashboard. So at the moment I've got no further updates from what I shared at the last board meeting. And then the final one in this section is the pensions pensions re-enrolment. So this exercise has to be carried out every 3 years by employers. This year, on the 1st of May, this exercise will be run again. It only affects those that have actually opted out of the fire pension scheme. Because obviously as an employer, we opt everybody into a relevant pension scheme. And we've got the 4 within the council. We've got local government, fire, teachers and NHS. So every single person is enrolled into one of those. They have the right to opt out. But if they do and they meet the pensions auto-enrolment criteria, then they are re-enrolled back into the scheme. It's something we have to do. It's a statutory requirement. We have no jurisdiction over this. The individuals that are rolled back or re-enrolled back in will receive a letter within 6 weeks of the 1st of May to say they have been automatically enrolled back into the fire pension scheme. And again, we'd put the right to opt out if they want to do that and how they can go about it. People can't opt out in advance of being opted in. The only caveat is if they had signed an opt-out form within the 12-month period running up to the 1st of May, that would still stand. So they wouldn't actually be then re-enrolled. So I think that's probably, I've said everything on enrolment, unless you've got any question on that.
I suppose only to ask that if a member has opted out within the previous 12 months, they wouldn't be auto-enrolled, but are they communicated with in some way to offer the choice?
There is an article that I've got ready for the Fire Weekly Bulletin, and that will just explain that as well. But anybody that has, I suppose the scenario might be then that if they've been opted out, they don't meet the criteria for re-enrolment, but they wish to opt back in, any member can opt back into the scheme at any point.
Brilliant, thank you. Unless anybody has any questions, we'll return to the agenda. Okay. Next point of the agenda, point 6, the Fire Pension Board plan. So the first aspect of that is the plan, forward planning itself. So we've got 4 open lines at the bottom of the plan from 2117 onwards. Now I believe these are all in progress with no significant update to give at the moment in terms of the survey, the TPR Public Service Governance and Administration Survey.
Yes, we haven't received that yet. I will double check with Andrew Crookham, who's the scheme manager, but usually Andrew does forward on any correspondence about pensions, but I haven't received that yet.
Okay, thank you. We've just had the discussion around auto-enrolment, so that's May on the forward plan. April, the year-end top-up grant work has commenced at the previous meeting, and I imagine that's still the case. So that's on target. Just a point on the point line 2120, the RSS ABS for those in scope. The date reads in the agenda pack reads May 25, should actually read March 25. So to the next item of the plan, the training records. So I believe there's a bit of training outstanding for Paul, the online courses. You've made some progress with those.
I have, yeah. Yeah, not quite finished, but...
Okay, so if you can update, who updates the training records, sorry? Okay, yeah, so update us when you've completed that training. And then looking forward, the LGA Pension Board training, we've got 2 dates there where reservations are listed for Naomi and myself actually. Just an amendment to that, I've altered the date of my course from the 16th of June. Instead, I'll be attending on the 17th of September. And I believe, Paul, you're intending to attend on the 17th of September as well. Yep. Okay, next item in the plan is the risk register. So the first important point to note is in the residual risk column, there's nothing listed as a high risk. So that's reassuring to start with. And I don't believe there have been any significant changes really in any of the outstanding risks. And I don't intend to go through them line by line unless anybody's got something they're aware of that we need to discuss. Yes, yeah, what does that relate to, the lack of resource? Yeah. So actually on M2, lack of resource, I understand that a new member of staff has started. Liz, can you just give a quick description of that?
Yes, it's Tracy Chamberlain has actually started. She comes under the line management of Richard Toone, and of course Richard Toone has all the HR admin, payroll and pensions administration teams, and obviously it's that team that liaises a lot with West Yorkshire. So Tracy's been brought in as the overall pensions manager, and they are currently recruiting to a team leader. I know they've held the interviews. I understand it's been quite a positive recruitment campaign, so they are likely to make a offer as a result of that as well. So we've actually got now a dedicated pensions manager. It is week 2 for her. I have had an introductory meeting already with her. She's just in the information gathering stage, but is experienced in pensions, although her background is NHS pensions, but obviously she's used to pensions and the nuances, and so things are getting better from this point on, I think, in terms of that dedicated resource.
Thanks, Liz, for that positive update. I think we'll leave the assessment of the risk where it is and see in the future what impact that has, but it's positive. I think a similar story for A4 in terms of lack of skilled resources, LCC and West Yorkshire Pension Fund, based on the discussion we had with Helen earlier around the capacity to deal with the amount of work they've got and their need to prioritise those tasks. I think that risk still remains, but I don't think it's increased or decreased in any way, so we'll monitor that going forwards. So if everybody's happy with that section and nothing to add or any questions? No? So to the agenda then, it's item 7, the Fire Pension Schemes Bulletin, a report from Liz.
Thank you. I've just got two things that I just want to draw to the board's attention. It was from the February bulletin that we received from the LGA. So we talked about the Matthew's second options exercise, and I referred to the amendments to the fire pension scheme, one of which was the extension to the deadline for Matthews, which currently is the 31st of March 2025. And I've just put, so the LGA did actually respond to that consultation, and that closed on the 17th of February. I'm going to talk a bit more about that in the Fire Pensions Officer Group, if that's okay. And then the other bit I just wanted to mention, it's just a general update. It's about, because we talk very much about the legacy schemes and the remedy, but actually we've got the current FPS 2015 scheme. An updated fact sheet has been provided about the benefits of the scheme. So we've talked about auto-enrolment as well. So I suppose we're targeting those that have opted out. So we're trying to sell the benefits of actually joining the scheme. There's also a PowerPoint presentation that's available, and I'm currently liaising with comms just to put an article in the Fire Weekly Bulletin on that. So that's my update on that section. Thank you.
Thanks, Liz. Does anybody have any questions at all? No? Okay, to the next point, point 8, the Fire Pension Officers Group. Again, Liz.
Sorry, you get to give the... I think this is my last item to update you on. Right, so the North East Region Fire Pensions Officer Group, known locally as NERFPOG, because the other one doesn't quite roll off the tongue, that occurred on the 5th of March. There's just really one key point that arose from that meeting. We've referred to it before in this meeting, which is the Matthew's second options exercise and the extension to that deadline of the 31st of March. And I mentioned about certain circumstances in that, although the consultation has closed as well, and it's going to be a while before the changes can be enacted, we are going to get a form of words as well from the Home Office, which will confirm what I'm about to say verbally and will allow us to then take this into effect. So we're just doing it in advance of the amended regs. Those that have, people have always had 6 months when they receive their figures to make a decision. But obviously the final stop date is still the 31st of March 2025. So those that have already received their costs for the buyback, they will still get 6 months from when those costs were sent out, even if that's after the 31st of March 2025. For those that get costs from the 1st of April onwards, they will still get 6 months. But obviously the last day will be then the 31st of March 2026 for anybody that comes out of the woodwork that we were never aware of, to be able to say they want to do the buyback. And that's it on that, thank you. Unless there's anything, Helen, sorry, I think it was a very short meeting. That was the only one that immediately jumped out for me.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything else.
Brilliant, thanks for that. Sorry, Liz. Point 9, update from the Scheme Advisory Board. Oh, that's Helen, is it? Right, okay. Brilliant. Helen, if you could give us the update from the Scheme Advisory Board, please.
I'm not sure there's been one since your last meeting. Just let me double check. I think the last one was in January. Let me no, the last one was in December, because the next one is next week. So there hasn't been a meeting since your last board.
Brilliant. That's that sorted then. Okay, that brings us to the end of the agenda. Point 10, date of the next meeting, which is the 5th of June at 10 a.m. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and thanks for everyone watching online, and we'll see you on the 5th of June.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.